Let me tell you something right from the beginning: success isn't luck. Too many people want to believe that successful men and women just happen to be at the right place at the right time with the right people. That's a comforting lie. The truth is, success is not an accident. It's intentional. It's built. It's created. It's forged by discipline, vision, and action. And if you're sitting here thinking you're waiting on luck, I'm here to wake you up. Luck doesn't build empires. Principles do. See, success is like gravity. It operates under laws. The law of sowing and reaping doesn't care whether you're rich or poor, black or white, educated or uneducated. If you plant the right seeds, you'll get the right harvest. If you put in the right habits, you'll reap the right results. And those who ignore the law, those who keep blaming luck, end up standing in the field with empty hands while others harvest the crops of consistency. Success is built, not given. That's the truth that separates the dreamers from the doers, the pretenders from the achievers. Too many people are waiting for life to hand them a golden opportunity, waiting for someone to come along and open the doors for them. But here's the reality: success doesn't knock on your door with a gift box and a ribbon. Success is constructed the same way a skyscraper is built, with vision, a blueprint, a solid foundation, and relentless work. If you want to rise, you can't sit back hoping. You have to pick up the tools of discipline, persistence, and strategy and start building. Think about it. Every empire you admire, every successful person you look up to, every movement that has shaped the world started with nothing more than a decision to build. They didn't wait for permission, and they didn't wait for luck. They laid the bricks of success with consistent effort. That's why when you see someone winning today, you're not looking at luck. You're looking at layers of sacrifice, countless hours of preparation, and a mindset that refused to quit. The house of success doesn't stand on convenience. It stands on commitment. Here's the hook. If you're waiting for luck, you'll be waiting your whole life. But if you start building, you'll shock yourself with how far you can go in a short time. Luck is unpredictable, but building is guaranteed. When you commit to growth, when you commit to developing skills, when you commit to showing up even when it's hard, you start stacking bricks. One phone call, one conversation, one lesson learned, one risk taken, it all adds up. Over time, what looks like small actions become towering results. Some people look at successful individuals and say, they're just lucky. No, they're not lucky. They're built. They're built from the pain they endured, the failures they bounced back from, the mornings they woke up when nobody was watching, and the nights they kept grinding when nobody clapped for them. Success is never given. It is earned through intentional construction. And the beauty of it is that anyone can start building. You don't need a silver spoon. You don't need to be born in the perfect family. You don't need to be in the right place at the right time. What you need is the courage to start, the humility to learn, and the determination to keep stacking bricks when everyone else quits. Let me ask you, are you building or are you waiting? Are you watching others put up the walls of their future while you're still hoping for luck to turn your way? If you're tired of waiting, it's time to move. It's time to shift from wishing to working, from waiting to building. Because the life you want will never show up by accident. It will only show up when you've put in the effort, the sacrifice, and the consistency to make it real. And here's something powerful. Once you start building, momentum takes over. At first, laying those bricks feels slow. It feels heavy. But as you keep building, as you see progress, as you experience small wins, The momentum starts pulling you forward. Before you know it, you're no longer pushing the vision. It's pulling you. And that's when others look at you and say, "You're so lucky." Smile, because you'll know the truth. You didn't stumble into success. You built it. Luck is a gamble, but principles are guaranteed. That's the difference between living a life of chance and living a life of certainty. Too many people are rolling the dice with their future, hoping that maybe something will fall into place. Maybe a break will show up. Maybe they'll just stumble into the right opportunity. But hope without principles is just wishful thinking, and wishful thinking never built a business, never transformed a family, never created wealth. Principles are what turn vague desires into measurable results. They are the foundation that never shifts, the laws that always work, whether you know them or not. Think about gravity. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. If you jump off a building, you're going down. That's a principle. Success works the same way. The principle of sowing and reaping doesn't care about your background, your degree, or your connections. If you sow discipline, consistency, and focus, you will reap growth, opportunity, and achievement. If you sow procrastination, distraction, and excuses, you will reap frustration, stagnation, and regret. The harvest is always tied to the seeds you plant, not the luck you hope for. Here's the hook. Principles never take a day off. They're not subject to mood swings. They don't care how you feel, and they don't bend to excuses. People waste years waiting on probabilities, hoping the right door opens by chance, when all along principles are sitting right in front of them saying, "Work me, and I'll work for you." Principles are like faithful servants. They always deliver, but only if you activate them. When you look at the most successful people in the world, they're not more lucky than you. They're not living under a different universe. They're simply living by principles that others ignore. They understand the principle of discipline, that doing the hard thing today makes life easier tomorrow. They understand the principle of value, that the more people you serve, the more rewards you receive. They understand the principle of persistence, that failure is never final unless you quit. And when you stack those principles, it creates what looks like luck to outsiders. But it's not luck. It's alignment with laws that never fail. Imagine if a farmer planted seeds only when he felt lucky, he'd starve. But because he understands the principle, he plants regardless of feelings, regardless of weather, regardless of circumstances. And because he plants, he reaps. Life works the same way. You don't wait for the right moment. You work the principle in every moment. That's why people who live by principles seem unstoppable. While others are waiting for stars to align, they are aligning themselves with principles that guarantee results. Let me challenge you right now. What principle are you ignoring? Are you waiting for the probability of a better job, or are you applying the principle of growth to make yourself more valuable? Are you hoping for the probability of more money, or are you applying the principle of stewardship to multiply what you already have? Are you wishing for the probability of a breakthrough, or are you applying the principle of perseverance to keep pressing until the door opens? Stop rolling dice with your destiny and start applying principles that guarantee the outcome. When you commit to living by principles, you no longer fear uncertainty. You no longer sit back wishing. You move forward knowing. You operate with confidence because you understand that the results are inevitable if the principles are obeyed. And the next time someone says, "You're lucky," you'll smile, because deep down you'll know the truth. Luck is random, but principles are inevitable. Luck is a gamble, but principles are guaranteed. That one truth can completely change the way you look at success because too many people are spending their lives waiting for probabilities to fall in their favor. They wait for the right connection, the right timing, the right break, as if life were some kind of lottery where a winning ticket might suddenly land in their hands. But that mindset is dangerous because probability doesn't give you control. It keeps you guessing. Principles, on the other hand, put you in the driver's seat. When you understand that success follows laws, just like gravity, you stop hoping for luck and start operating by truths that never fail. Think about it for a moment. Nobody expects gravity to take a day off. You don't wonder if it will work for you on Monday but not on Friday. Gravity always works, regardless of who you are or what you believe. In the same way, success principles always work. The principle of sowing and reaping doesn't care whether you were born rich or poor, educated or uneducated. If you sow consistency, effort, and discipline, you will reap growth, results, and progress. If you sow excuses, laziness, and procrastination, you will reap regret and frustration. The harvest is never tied to luck. It's tied to what you plant. Here's the hook. Principles don't play favorites. They don't bend to feelings. They don't shift because of circumstances. And they don't excuse excuses. While probability keeps you sitting still, hoping that maybe this will be your season, principles invite you to get moving and guarantee that your season will come if you stay faithful. Too many people waste years waiting for the dice to roll their way, while those who apply principles create results that look like luck to everyone else. But it's not luck, it's alignment. Look at every successful person you admire. From entrepreneurs who built billion-dollar companies to athletes who dominate their fields, the truth is the same. They are not just lucky. They are living by principles that other people ignore. They understand the principle of discipline, that the work you put in today will reward you tomorrow. They live by the principle of persistence, that setbacks are only setups for comebacks if you keep moving. They lean on the principle of value, that serving others creates opportunities and rewards. When those principles are stacked day after day, they produce results that outsiders mislabel as luck. But what looks like chance is simply the visible outcome of invisible laws being obeyed. Imagine a farmer who plants seeds only when he feels lucky. He'd never harvest anything. But a wise farmer doesn't wait for luck. He trusts the principle. He plants in faith, waters in diligence, and harvests in patience. Life works exactly the same way. You don't need luck when you've got principles. You don't wait for the perfect conditions. You plant, you water, you work, and the results eventually appear. That's why people who live by principles seem unstoppable. They're not waiting for stars to align. They're aligning themselves with the laws that guarantee the stars will shine on their work. Let me put this directly to you. What principle are you avoiding while you wait for luck to show up? Are you waiting for a promotion? Or are you practicing the principle of growth that makes you too valuable to ignore? Are you waiting for more money? Or are you applying the principle of stewardship and multiplying what's already in your hands? Are you waiting for breakthrough? Or are you practicing the principle of perseverance that kicks doors open when they won't budge? The truth is, luck is optional, but principles are inevitable. Once you shift your mindset from gambling on probabilities to standing on principles, everything changes. Your confidence increases because you know the law will work. Your fear decreases because uncertainty is replaced with clarity. You no longer live at the mercy of chance. You live in the power of choice. And when people watch you rise and whisper, they're just lucky, you'll know they're wrong. It's not luck, it's law. It's not chance, it's principles at work. It's not what you do once in a while that defines your life. It's what you do consistently. Consistency is the great multiplier, the silent engine behind every visible success. People often get excited in the beginning. They pour out energy when they're inspired, and they give their best effort when they feel motivated. But life doesn't reward occasional effort. It rewards sustained effort. Consistency creates certainty, and certainty is what separates those who succeed from those who only dream about it. Think about it. Anyone can show up once. Anyone can push hard for a week. Anyone can commit when the excitement is fresh. But what happens when the motivation fades, when the crowd disappears, when no one is clapping for you? That's where consistency steps in. Success is never about doing something perfectly one time. It's about doing something faithfully 1,000 times. It's brushing your teeth every day, not once a month. It's exercising regularly, not only when the gym is offering discounts. It's making those small daily deposits that accumulate into wealth, wisdom, health, and influence. Here's the hook. Consistency doesn't always feel powerful in the moment, but it always produces power over time. One workout won't transform your body. One prayer won't change your spirit. One day of discipline won't build your business. But stack 100 workouts, 100 prayers, 100 days of discipline, and suddenly your life looks unrecognizable. Consistency compounds. It turns small actions into massive outcomes. The problem is that people underestimate the power of small, repeated steps. They want instant gratification. They want to plant the seed today and eat the fruit tomorrow. But life doesn't work like that. A farmer doesn't dig up his seed every other day to check if it's growing. He waters it, he protects it, and he trusts that consistency will do its job. Too many people sabotage themselves by quitting too soon, by breaking their rhythm, by letting inconsistency rob them of momentum. Momentum is like a snowball. You have to keep rolling it. Stop pushing, and it stops growing. Keep pushing, and it becomes unstoppable. The truth is, consistency builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity. Every time you show up, even when it's hard, you tell your brain, I am the kind of person who follows through. And that identity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't have to hype yourself up with luck or hope. You know that the results will come because you know you won't stop until they do. That certainty is priceless. Let me ask you, what could your life look like if you simply became consistent for the next year? What if you stopped starting and stopping, quitting and restarting, drifting and regretting? What if you picked one thing that mattered and you did it faithfully day after day, whether you felt like it or not? Do you realize how unstoppable you would be? People would look at you differently. Opportunities would come to you. Doors would open, not because you're lucky, but because you're reliable. The world rewards those who can be counted on, and consistency makes you countable. So stop underestimating the little things. Stop treating discipline like it's optional. Stop waiting to feel motivated before you move. Feelings come and go, but principles stay the same. And one of the most powerful principles you can live by is this: consistency creates certainty. Do the work long enough, and the results must show up. Do it faithfully enough, and what felt impossible will become inevitable. The magic isn't in one giant leap. It's in the thousands of steady steps that nobody sees, but everybody notices in the end. Dreams without action are nothing more than fantasies, and fantasies don't change lives. What changes lives is the decision to move, the courage to act, the willingness to step into the unknown and do what most people are too afraid to do. Action is the bridge between what you imagine and what you experience. You can think about success all day long. You can visualize it, write it on vision boards, even pray for it. But until you put movement behind your vision, it remains a picture in your head instead of a reality in your hands. Action is the switch that turns potential into progress. So many people waste years waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for more money, waiting for the right support, waiting until everything feels safe. But here's the hook. Waiting doesn't create progress, action does. Perfection is an illusion, and hesitation is a thief. If you keep waiting for the stars to align, you'll never step forward. The truth is, the stars align when you start walking. The path doesn't become clear until you take the first step. Clarity comes through movement, not through sitting still. Think about anyone you admire who has achieved greatness. They didn't succeed because they had it all figured out from the beginning. They succeeded because they acted in spite of uncertainty. They wrote the book even when they weren't sure it would sell. They started the business even when the numbers didn't make sense yet. They made the phone call, took the meeting, created the product, recorded the video, and each step forward created more opportunities, more clarity, and more momentum. Action doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. Action creates the conditions for growth. Here's the truth you need to hold on to. Hesitation feeds fear, but action feeds courage. The longer you wait, the louder your doubts grow. The moment you move, the moment you do the thing you've been avoiding, your confidence expands. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And you start realizing, what if it does? Every small action chips away at fear until fear no longer has the power to control you. That's why action is not just about results. It's about transformation. You don't just build success through action. You build yourself. Let me challenge you with this question. What dream are you still sitting on because you're waiting for luck or timing? What idea have you buried under excuses because you're afraid to act? The longer you wait, the heavier the dream becomes until carrying it feels like a burden instead of a blessing. But the moment you act, you feel lighter, freer, stronger, because you're no longer living with the weight of someday. You're living in the power of today. For action also creates momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces on earth. One step makes the next step easier. One small win creates the confidence for a bigger win. The first phone call makes the second one less intimidating. The first client makes the next 10 easier to reach. Success doesn't happen in giant leaps. It happens in daily steps that compound. And once momentum starts rolling, it feels like success is chasing you instead of the other way around. So here's the hook that will shift your perspective forever. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. Stop thinking yourself out of opportunities. Stop waiting for permission. Stop believing the lie that you need everything lined up before you start. The future doesn't belong to the thinkers. It belongs to the doers, the people who move even when they're scared, even when they're unsure, even when they don't have everything figured out, are the people who create breakthroughs. Dreams are free, but action is expensive, and that's why so few people are willing to pay the price. But those who do, those who step out of comfort and into courage, get to experience what most only imagine, because action is the difference between a life of wishing and a life of winning. And if you dare to move, the life you've been dreaming of will stop being a fantasy and start being your reality. You cannot build success if you don't first believe it's possible. Faith is not some abstract, weak idea. It is the engine that powers every meaningful achievement in life. Without faith, the moment you hit resistance, you quit. Without faith, the first obstacle convinces you it was never meant to be. But with faith, you develop a focus that cuts through distractions, that keeps your eyes on the vision, even when the circumstances don't look favorable. Faith fuels focus, and focus creates results. Most people fail not because they lack talent, not because they lack resources, but because they lack belief. They can see the vision in their imagination, but they don't believe they're worthy of it or capable of it. So they sabotage themselves before they even start. But here's the hook. Your life will always rise or fall to the level of your faith. If you believe small, you live small. If you believe big, you live big. Faith is the permission slip that allows you to pursue greatness without apology. Think about how an archer focuses on a target. The bow may shake, the environment may not be perfect, but their eyes never leave the bullseye. Faith works the same way. It keeps your vision locked even when life feels unstable. Without faith, your focus scatters. You get distracted by setbacks, discouraged by delays, and derailed by the opinions of others. But when faith is active, it narrows your attention and sharpens your resolve. You stop worrying about how long it will take and instead focus on what you must do today to move one step closer. Faith doesn't ignore reality, it overrides it. Faith sees the facts but refuses to be limited by them. It acknowledges the bank account is low but stays focused on building wealth. It acknowledges the competition is fierce but keeps aiming for the prize. It acknowledges the pain of failure but keeps moving forward anyway. Faith doesn't eliminate problems. It empowers you to face them with focus and determination until they no longer stand in your way. Here's something powerful. Faith creates focus, and focus creates clarity. The moment you truly believe something is possible, your brain starts filtering out distractions and highlighting opportunities that align with that belief. Suddenly, what seemed invisible becomes visible. You notice doors you never saw before. You connect with people who can help you. You find energy you didn't know you had. Faith flips the switch that tells your mind, pay attention to the path that leads to the promise. Without that, you're wandering in circles. But with it, you're moving with precision. Let me ask you, what has your lack of faith cost you? How many opportunities have you ignored because you told yourself it was too big, too hard, or too impossible? How many times have you let fear break your focus and talk you out of your destiny? Every time you doubt, you dilute your power. Every time you believe, you sharpen your edge. The difference between those who win and those who wish is not luck. It's faith applied as focus. And here's the hook that will stir you. Doubt will always argue for your limitations, but faith will always argue for your possibilities. Which voice are you listening to? Because whichever one you feed will shape your future. Feed doubt and you'll shrink back. Feed faith and you'll step forward. Feed doubt and you'll chase distractions. Feed faith and you'll lock in on the goal until nothing can pull you away. The most powerful achievers in history were not the most talented. They were the most focused. And their focus was not born out of perfect conditions, but out of unshakable faith. They believed so deeply that failure could not persuade them, fear could not paralyze them, and critics could not distract them. That kind of faith-driven focus is unstoppable. It creates momentum, it produces excellence, and it attracts results that look impossible to those who lack the belief to try. Faith fuels focus, And when your focus is fueled by faith, you don't just chase goals, you achieve them. You don't just talk about dreams, you live them. Because faith gives you the courage to start, the strength to continue, and the focus to finish. And that combination is what makes success inevitable. Stop blaming circumstances, stop pointing fingers, stop waiting for lucky breaks. Success is responsibility, not chance. The moment you decide to own your life completely, everything changes. Too many people are living as if their future depends on someone else's decision. They wait for the boss to notice them, for the economy to improve, for the right person to open the right door. But here's the hook. When you give away responsibility, you give away power. Responsibility is not a burden. It is the key that unlocks your potential. Success belongs to those who understand that no one is coming to rescue them. No government, no company, no mentor, no miracle check in the mail is going to build your dream for you. If your life is going to change, it will change because you decided to change it. The most successful people on earth did not escape responsibility. They embraced it. They understood that responsibility means responsibility. The ability to respond, the power to act, the capacity to create outcomes instead of waiting on them. Think about it. The person who takes responsibility can always make progress because they know that regardless of what happens around them, they still control how they respond. The person who refuses responsibility gets stuck because they're always waiting for external conditions to shift before they take action. That's why so many people remain stuck for years. They've handed over their future to chance. But the ones who rise are the ones who say, if it's to be, it's up to me. Here's the truth that might sting. As long as you blame others, you stay powerless. If you blame the boss, you can't get better. If you blame the economy, you can't innovate. If you blame your upbringing, you can't grow past it. But when you take responsibility, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what am I going to do about it? That shift in mindset is the birthplace of transformation. Responsibility flips the script. It takes you from victim to victor. Here's another hook. Responsibility is freedom. People think freedom means doing whatever you want, but that's not freedom, that's chaos. True freedom is the ability to shape your own destiny, and that only comes when you accept responsibility for the results you create. When you own your choices, you own your future. When you take responsibility for your time, your money, your habits, your relationships, you unlock the power to redesign your life any way you choose. Responsibility doesn't weigh you down, it lifts you up because it puts the pen of your story back in your hand. Let me challenge you. What excuses have you been holding on to that are keeping you from stepping into your destiny? Are you blaming the lack of resources when the real issue is the lack of resourcefulness? Are you blaming lack of opportunity when the truth is you haven't taken action with the opportunities already in front of you? Are you blaming circumstances when the real barrier is the comfort zone you refuse to leave? Every excuse you entertain robs you of energy, and every responsibility you embrace fuels your growth. The people who win in life are not the ones who had the easiest start. They are the ones who stopped waiting for chance and started taking charge. They looked at the same obstacles others complained about and said, this is mine to solve. They stopped waiting for the winds to change and learned how to adjust their sails. They understood that responsibility is not a one-time decision, it is a lifestyle. Every day they choose to own their actions, their results, their progress. And that ownership makes them unstoppable. Success is not a lottery ticket. It is a responsibility ticket. It belongs to those who sign their name on the dotted line and say, I accept. And when you accept responsibility at that level, luck no longer matters. Because while others are gambling on chance, you are guaranteeing your outcome through ownership. The question is, are you ready to stop waiting and start owning? Because the moment you do, you step into the driver's seat of your destiny, and that's when success stops being a dream and starts becoming your reality.